Hey everyone, welcome back to my vlog channel. I am Nina Ubhi. I'm a professional makeup artist and an entrepreneur. I know that a lot of you, if you are already on my vlog channel, you know what my vlogs are about. It's kind of like anything and everything, and here and there I throw in a little bit of kind of business advice, life advice, motivation, a bit of everything. Anything which is good, positive, and can help you to move forward in life in any aspect of your life. Now, today what I thought I would do is sit down and talk to you about how I got to where I am and kind of a brief look into where I'm going as well. Because I've had a lot of you message saying, how did you move to Dubai? What have you done in your life to get you where you are? So I thought, why not go through with you today exactly what I have done? I'm not going to be spot on with everything because I'm going to be honest, I sat there and I had to think about what age I was doing what at and what way round, you know, like where I've worked and places like that. I'd be here forever if I went through a whole kind of like list of exactly what I've done in terms of like everywhere I've worked and everything. So I thought, you know what, let me keep it simple and just run through like briefly what it is that I've done in my life that I feel has kind of helped to get me to where I am. So I was born in South London, and around about when I was a teenager, my dad decided to shift us all kind of out of central London. And it was for the best in the long run. But at the time, all of a sudden, when we moved out of London, I was kind of like just the only person of colour, along with a few others. And I found that really difficult to deal with. And I didn't apply myself to studying education as much as I should have. I kind of like went into a little shell, and yeah, I really didn't actually enjoy school. But when I look back, I feel like I had so much potential to be able to apply myself, and I was really capable of it. But I just decided to take a step back because I just didn't like it. It was bullying and all that kind of stuff, but that's a whole nother subject. But anyway, I finished my school years there. I then stayed on for a couple of years to do advanced business. From there, I kind of like went to work for my dad, and my dad works in the construction industry. He's a project manager, so anything which is commercial is what he usually deals with, you know, like buildings and everything, like everything on the inside, like putting it together and everything. That's what he kind of deals with. So at the time, he had started his business and we were working in central London again. So I loved that because I was back in central London, and I loved it because I've just always liked being in central London. I always knew where I was going, you know, I was good at driving around. And so I really enjoyed it. And it was actually really nice working with my dad because even though I worked for my dad, I wasn't with him 24/7. So he was always busy, meetings, networking, entertaining. I was usually the one driving back at the end of the night. But it was good because at the time I found it difficult sometimes. But now when I look back, it taught me so many things. And I know they sound pretty basic, but actually they're not, because I feel like you implement them in life, in your everyday work and just life in general. Having to leave sometimes at 5 in the morning because dad wanted to like miss all the traffic. At the time I was just like, why? And then later on, when I used to sometimes have to go in on my own, I'd be like, okay, this is why, because the traffic was just crazy. Listening to him on meetings, listening to him when he was entertaining. So even though he would be entertaining and I'd be driving back at the end of the night, I would be sitting there I wouldn't be sitting there in a corner. Obviously, I'd be part of the conversation and everything. But it was good. It was nice to hear the way he spoke to people, the way he was kind of like, even though that was entertaining, that was also him getting deals done. That was also him kind of like understanding the people that he wanted to kind of like get on board for projects and things like that, or partner up with. So it was really good for me to be able to understand how to kind of network and speak to people. So I learned so much when I was working for my dad. Now, when I worked for my dad, I was purely dealing with the admin side and going through the tenders that they were putting together. And there was a lot of kind of like, how can I put this? You're dealing with men, you know? So there's very few women in that industry at that point, and kind of like throwing me in at the deep end because I was just like, whoa, what is going on? Like, it really did help me, like I said, in so many different aspects of what I do. And I think the biggest thing that it taught me before I moved on was how hardworking you should be, and how understanding of how you really have to put your all into something if you really want it to work. And I think that's a lot of what I took away as well is seeing how hard my dad worked and how hard he still works. And that is something that's kind of been like instilled in me without him even realizing, I don't think. But that's where I get my kind of work ethic from, and like my hard work and that effort that I put in, and constantly wanting to do stuff and constantly wanting to get to the next level. That kind of stems from him. I knew that wasn't something that I wanted to kind of do for the rest of my life. Like, construction never interested me in that way. I did learn so much from him, and I realized at that point that, okay, I really love beauty. I was always so good at doing my own makeup. I would always have people saying to me like, who did your makeup? Or your eyeliner is so perfectly like done, the wings, everything's so symmetrical. Because I was very OCD with my makeup. I was such a perfectionist when it came to doing my makeup. And I didn't really think about doing anything in the beauty industry at that, like when people were like kind of saying, oh, your makeup is so good. I just thought, oh, okay, that's great, thanks, you know. But I didn't think of doing anything with it. I guess I kind of like realized from working with my dad that he's so good at what he does and he loves it and he enjoys it, that I wanted to do something that I love and that I enjoy, because I want to be able to put that same amount of passion and hard work and effort into something that I love. And I realized that I really enjoyed doing my makeup, and I thought, okay, what can I do with this? To kind of get more of a feel for it, I started working for beauty brands. I've worked for like Estee Lauder, Elizabeth Arden, you know, those kind of places, and I really enjoyed it because there was a lot of training involved. Saying that, I don't agree with that kind of training now. There are no rules when it comes to where you should put a certain color and where you shouldn't put a certain color. So although they trained me, I questioned it at that point as well. So why do I have to put the dark color here? Why does the dark color only go there? Why does the light one have to go there? So it didn't make sense to me, but you know, you do it because you work for the company and you've got to kind of, you know, you've got to do the training. But when I was working on the counters, I used to do my own style of makeup. So working in the beauty industry did teach me a lot, but I also realized that I really wanted to travel. And I actually knew this from a very young age. I just felt like I never felt like this is where I was meant to be. I just knew that I didn't want to live in the UK, and I didn't know where though. Growing up, we always used to go on like family holidays. So like my dad would always kind of like pick somewhere new for us to go. So he wanted us to travel. He wanted us to see the world. He wanted us to kind of like see different cultures and understand that, you know, that there are different places to visit in the world. And that, I think, really kind of got its hooks into me because it made me want to travel more, you know. And I thought, what can I do where I can travel more? So then I kind of thought to myself, well, I love the beauty industry, but I don't want to be standing here at a counter all day, every day. I don't want to be like working in an office. What can I do? So I thought, let me apply to an airline, because I thought maybe I could like work in cabin crew or something. So I was really kind of like really interested in becoming cabin crew. I mean, I don't think I realized at that point that, you know, you need to know how to swim, because I can't swim. There's a reason why as well, which I'll go into later. I basically decided that, you know what, I really want to be cabin crew. I would love to do that. I would love to travel all over the world. I would love to be able to like just not be in one place all the time. So I became pretty obsessed with wanting to be cabin crew. And I remember speaking to my mum and dad about it, and they were like, go for it. You know, they've always been very supportive and very like, do what you are going to do, but if you're going to do it properly and don't just keep changing. You know, at that point I was kind of like changing. But so I said, okay, let me apply to the best airline in the world. And I don't even know how I knew they were the best airline at that point. Honestly, I didn't. At that point, I hadn't even like been to Dubai. I don't think I even knew like you know, UAE, like my geography was not that great. So I don't know what I thought going into like the whole airline side. But I applied to Emirates. I was like, this would be amazing. I think maybe we flew with Emirates once, and I remember seeing the cabin crew thinking like, wow, this is what I want to do. They just look so put together. They look like the makeup is good, so that appealed to me. And then I was like, but they, you know, they're traveling all over the place. So I applied, and I still remember the interview. There's like, it's so strict to get into Emirates, and I got through to the next stage. So I applied and I got through, and then we moved on to the second stage, and this is where you meet everyone else is kind of like applying to work for Emirates. At that point, I remember them talking about the fact that you need to swim, and I was just like, I can't swim. I don't think I even told them. I think I just thought to myself, I'm going to have to go and learn then, aren't I? I told myself, if I get through to this next stage, I'm going to have to go learn. I didn't get through to the next stage, and I can't remember why. I don't think they even tell you, but I didn't get through. It is very strict. I thought, okay, I'm going to apply to a different airline. So I applied to Virgin Atlantic. I thought, let me just be realistic about this. I can't swim, so let me apply for check-in. And you couldn't apply to Emirates immediately after, otherwise I would have applied for Emirates check-in. So I had to wait a little while. So I applied for Virgin Atlantic and I got the job, and I worked at check-in for a while. And that, I don't know how people do it, I'm going to be honest, because the hours are crazy. You have shift works, like I can't remember properly, but it's like 3 days on, 3 days off. And like the first 3 days that you work, it's like you got to be there at something like 11 p.m. and you work through to like, I don't know, 7, 8 in the morning. And then, you do that for 3 days, that timing. And then you have 3 days off or 2 days off. And then you go back for your next 3 days. And then you're doing like the morning shift, which is like, I don't know, 5 a.m. until 1 p.m. I just don't even know how people do it. That literally completely messed with my body clock. It was good experience. I think my favorite thing about the job was meeting a new person literally every minute. The people who are checking in, all different, they're flying to all different countries, and you just meet so many people, and I loved that. That was my favorite part of the job, like meeting all these different people, and they're so excited, they're so happy to be going somewhere, or to be going home, or to be going on holiday. So I left Virgin, and I decided I didn't want to be tied down. I wanted to go solo. I wanted to, like start my own thing. And I think that's when I kind of realized that clearly I can't work for someone. I hated being told what time you can go for lunch. I hated being told, okay, you've got a 15-minute break now. Because I used to think, who are you to tell me I've got a 15-minute break? I don't want to feel like I'm going to get told what to do. And I understand, fully understand you're getting paid for the job, so you've got to abide by those rules. So I understand that. I'm not saying that they don't make sense. I'm saying I didn't fit that whole situation, and I knew that I had to do something where I was my own boss. And coming away from that, I didn't work for a little while, and at that point I kind of had to sit and think, like, what do I want to do? And that's when I realized, right, what have I done? Business, having done advanced business at school and also working for my dad, I learned a lot of the business side. Beauty, working for beauty brands, understanding the beauty industry and realizing that I'm good at it. Travel, working for an airline and realizing that I love the kind of like excitement of it and I love traveling. So I knew that whatever I wanted to do had to kind of be a combination or include all three of those things: business, beauty, and travel. Those are the three things that I knew I was good at and I loved. So at that point, I decided to become a makeup artist. I started my own business as a freelance makeup artist. I remember my grandmother, she used to live with us when she was alive, and I was very close to her, and to speak to her about what I wanted to do. And she said to me, I think you should do it. But she also made me promise her. She said, I'm going to buy you your first kit. I feel like at that point, and it is very normal that parents worry about their children, like, okay, she's doing this 1 minute, she's doing this next minute, she's doing this next minute. Where is she going? What is she going to be doing with her life? And being the eldest in my family, I am sure my mum and dad had that worry. I'm sure they did. They were always very supportive about anything that I wanted to do. My grandmother was the one who I used to have those like private chats with, and she said to me that I'm going to buy you your first kit. Tell me what you need to be able to get this started. And I said, well, I need like a makeup kit, I need like a case to hold it all together. And she said, right, I'm going to buy you your first kit, but I want you to promise me that you will never quit. You will never give up on this. You will make something of yourself and you will make a name for yourself. And I said, okay, I promise you that's what I'm going to do. And that has to be the biggest thing that stuck by me, because I genuinely, oh my God, I don't know why I'm getting upset. My grandmother hasn't been around for a long time, so I don't actually know why I'm getting upset about it. But I guess it's such a core part of why I never give up. Okay. Let me sort myself out. I did not expect that at all. So I think that's just it's a big part of why I never give up. So if anything ever happens in terms of like, business wise, you get hit, like everyone was hit at a certain point, a few years ago. No matter what obstacle has ever come in my way, I've always had her voice in my head. Kind of at the back of my mind, I've always thought, I am not going to quit. Things get a bit tough, things get a bit hard. I am not going to quit. I'm going to go through it, and I don't care who is giving me any kind of advice of, you know, oh, this is tough, maybe you shouldn't do this, because you do get people like that. I would never give it up. You know, it's something that I love, and it's something that I've promised her that I will keep going. She invested in my kit, and I still remember it. It was a silver, you know, that traditional makeup case, the one that you can carry. It wasn't the roll along one. I wasn't that advanced yet, you know, I just got the small one that you can carry. You know, she invested in all that for me. I got some makeup, nothing, it wasn't anything like, you know, at that point I wasn't going to be using Dior or anything, or Chanel, you know, so it was just, I can't even remember what brand it was. It was not a expensive brand. Fitted out my whole kit, and I thought, right, I'm good to go. I wanted to make sure I marketed myself well. So I taught myself online how to Photoshop, how to kind of edit pictures, how I also learned kind of online, all online by the way, basic photography. She also bought me a camera so that I can take pictures of models and I can put them in my portfolio. And at that point I had a leather binder, an A4 leather binder, which I probably still got somewhere. My mum and dad probably got it somewhere, of my work, of like to show my portfolio. At that point, I can't remember the website, but there was a website that freelancers would go on, like photographers, stylists, models, makeup artists, hairstylists would go on to kind of collaborate with one another. And back then it was called Model Mayhem, and I registered on there. It's like a free site, and you just basically network with other professionals, like art, like creative professionals. And I remember organizing some shoots, you know, like first off, I included myself, I like put myself forward for a shoot, because at that point I didn't know how to organize it myself. Went in, did the makeup, learned, okay, this is what it's like being on a shoot, you know, picked up everything along the way, understood what a call sheet is. I was watching the photography, everything, the lighting. So then on top of that, I did more research and I taught myself basic photography. I learned how shadows work, how lighting works. When I would go on a shoot, I would watch what the stylist is doing, what the hairstylist is doing, what the photographer is doing, what the model is doing. I would watch who's directing the shoot, how are they directing the model. I would learn all of that bit by bit on the job. And honestly, the best training you could ever get is on the job training. You keep doing it, and I don't mean go once and that's it. You've got to keep going. And I tell you that is something I've actually seen happen with students of mine as well, who have been on the job training with me, and they've stuck with me for a good like 6 months to a year. The level of their work has just skyrocketed just from on the job training. And then I started organizing my own shoots. So I started kind of, you know, booking in models, and I'd say like, you can, I'd arrange like to do it either somewhere in my home, or like I'd see if the photographer had a place that I could go to with the model. And we did that for a little while. I kept organizing shoots, kept building up my portfolio. I would retouch the images myself, because obviously my camera wasn't like a pro camera. I think it must have been like Fujifilm or something like that. You know, you still have to edit. You have to edit the lighting. You have to adjust the exposure, adjust the contrast, the shadows and everything. And then I thought, right, now I need a website. So I made my own website. It was one of those like kind of, obviously those things that you can just go online and create your own website. So I did all of that myself. And to be honest, I think it was pretty good for the time. I was really good at it. Like I was very good at learning. I was very good at anything creative. I did it, and I then started getting work. I started getting clients. And I remember my first bride, I can't remember her name, but I had a bridal client somewhere in the UK, obviously, but I can't remember where exactly. Bristol, maybe somewhere like that. It was pretty far. I remember when I went in and I did her makeup, and I learned hair, by the way. Forgot to mention that. I learned hair myself as well. That was on the job. And basic hairstyling though. So I did my first bride and I got her ready, and the feeling I had when I got her ready was amazing. Just to see that she loved her makeup, she loved her whole look, and she was about to go and get married, and that I got her ready, and how happy she was, and the fact that all of her pictures, like, she felt confident because of how I made her feel, because of what I did. So that gave me a lot of satisfaction. And then from there, my client base like grew and grew and grew, and then word of mouth, it helped with that as well. And I carried on doing that, and then I got a job at a UK publication, a magazine, and I got the job as beauty editor. And I was basically doing a lot of kind of writing a lot of articles. So I learned how to write and how to research into things, and like understanding the beauty industry, because my job entailed writing reviews on non-invasive skin treatments, beauty products, like what are the best kind of product. I used to get sent a lot of stuff, like obviously being beauty editor, so I used to like review a lot of them and put together, you know, when you see in the magazines like the top 5 mascaras or the best way to avoid acne, all this kind of stuff. That's what I used to do. I used to write all those articles. As well as writing all the articles, I also used to do the makeup. So I was also the in-house makeup artist for the magazine, and I used to do the makeup for the covers, do the makeup for the shoots, and sometimes they'd get celebrities in and I'd do the makeup for those celebrities. So my portfolio went from here to here because all of a sudden I had all this like really like next level professional portfolio. I then started my own training academy. So I put together my own training academy where I would teach aspiring makeup artists. And I started doing this on the side. Basically what I would do is I would take on a group of people who were looking to become makeup artists, whether they were beginners or advanced, they can come in and join. It was like a 5-day course, and I would teach like a whole group of them. Sometimes there were like 20, 25 people where I would like teach them for 5 days. And it was pretty intense. I'd never done a course myself. I was never trained by anyone. I'm self-taught. So after all those years of experience, I felt like I could put that together. I put a whole like schedule together. I put a whole booklet together for them. So it was really intense training. There were diagrams that I created myself online on Photoshop. I did that for quite a while, and I think that's where my training side comes in handy for my beauty YouTube channel, because that's why I'm pretty good at teaching, because I had to deal with so many different levels of people. Every single one of them had a different pace of learning. You know, they weren't all the same. So I had to really change the way that I was teaching, because one person will pick it up just like that, the next person wouldn't pick it up that quick. So you have to kind of adjust the way that you teach accordingly. And I think because I used to break everything down so like precisely and break it into small pieces and make it really easy to understand, like bite-sized information, that has helped me with my YouTube channel, with the teaching side of it. I did that for quite a while, and it used to make me feel really good seeing these girls go off and create their own kind of careers from it. These girls would come and spend 6 months, sometimes a year with me, and I would see how that on-the-job training would just completely transition the way that they work. They would become perfectionists when it came to blending. So it really made me feel good. I then also started doing destination weddings. So at this point of my career, I feel like this is when I really kind of made it to the top of my career, when I was living in the UK. And this is where I was traveling to different countries to get brides ready. At first it was like, you know, like places in Europe, and then it was like full on international. I was like, wow. When I started going internationally, like for destination weddings, that's when I was like, this is what I want to do. I absolutely love this. Like, I love the fact that I'm doing what I love and I'm traveling and it's my own business. I absolutely loved it. And with the traveling, I also came to Dubai. And out of all the places that I have traveled to, and I've traveled a lot, Dubai was the one place that literally took my heart. When I got here, I was like, this is where I want to live. This is where I feel at home. I don't know what it was about the place, because it definitely wasn't as what it is now. When I first visited, I just fell in love with it, and I just felt like every time I came here, I felt like this was home for me. Then I just carried on doing what I was doing, you know, had my own business, I was loving it, and I met my now husband. And then at that point, he didn't really get involved with my business. I didn't get involved with what he was doing. He was working for a corporate firm at a very good level. We decided to have a destination wedding. So we initially, I think we were going to get married in Goa, and then it turned out to be like monsoon season. So I was like, how about Dubai? And he was like, I've never been. And I was like, you're gonna love it. So we got married in Dubai, and actually the first time he came was actually on the wedding. We didn't come before the wedding to plan anything. We planned everything from the UK. And when he came here, he loved it. And I was like, thank God he loves it as much as me. And then after we got married, we just kept coming back here every 2 months. And I was like, okay, he's loving it more. He's loving it more. Hopefully he'll want to move here one day with me. So we didn't really get involved with each other's work. And then I remember he kind of sat down with me and he was like, tell me what you do. What is it that you do? Because he saw that I was doing pretty well out of it. And he said that, you know, I want to know like what it is you can do and where I can like maybe, you know, give you a bit of advice, because he was so good with numbers. He comes from the finance industry. And he then kind of went through everything with me, and we kind of like both realized that the part of my work that I was doing that I felt like I was kind of like, I thought it was that I needed them, but in actual fact I feel like they needed me, was the magazine side, the publication side. And I think that's when he made me realize that, you know, you don't need them. You're doing really well on your own. You don't have to hang on to that. And that's when I realized that I don't have to. And I decided to leave, and the only thing that I was doing was purely my business now. And then we just traveled a little bit, you know, because we were at the beginning of our marriage, and we traveled quite a lot, and I just carried on with my work. And then I remember saying to him, how do you feel about moving to Dubai? And he was like, yeah, you know, let's try it. We did talk about it first, and then we just kind of like left it. We're like, we're not being serious. And then we kind of like talked about it again because we went back again. We were going there so often that we thought, why don't we look into like actually moving there? I think at that point he also realized that he had a glass ceiling too, because he was so good at what he did. He should have been a lot higher than where he was. He was at a really good position, by the way. He, I think, felt that he was overlooked a few times when he wanted to kind of move up. And I feel like at that point he realized that there's a glass ceiling for him, and he decided to leave. And then we moved out to Dubai. And then when we moved out here, we didn't know anyone out here at all. We had no one to ask for help. We had no one to say, you know, it's great, come out here. No one was telling us any of that. You know, we didn't have anyone out here saying, you guys should move out here. This is something we decided to do completely on our own. No one, no help whatsoever. We moved out here, and God, it was tough to begin with, because you've really got to adjust. And I will maybe do another video about what it's like living in Dubai and the transition and how it was moving out here, and the advice that I would give if anyone wants to ever move abroad. It's the best thing we have ever done. This has just completely opened up our eyes to new possibilities, to meeting new people, culturally, to just makes you a more wholesome person because of the different and diverse people that you are meeting. There is just everyone and anyone out here from any country you could think of, and I love that because you're always meeting so many different people. But other than that, the culture here in general, I love. It resonates with me because I feel like that's something that I agree with the way that things are run out here. I like that. I like the certain restrictions that you have out here. It's very family orientated. You know, everyone's helping one another. There's no kind of like pushback. There's no kind of like, you shouldn't be here. There's no kind of like, you're not the right skin color. There's none of that. Everyone helps one another here. The number of female entrepreneurs out here is crazy. It's a very inspiring place, you know, and they have this saying out here that I saw when we first moved here, and it's always sat with me, is that the sky is not the limit, that there is so much more you can do for yourself. There is so much more you can do with your life. And that's what I love out here, is there's this constant kind of enthusiasm of reaching further in life and achieving new things. I think that's a very good and positive kind of place to be in. Then it was a case of starting from scratch. So it was a case of building up my clientele base, and I thought, how am I going to do this? This is basically just going back to square one, and it's different. It's a different country. It's not necessarily going to work in the same way that I had done it there, and obviously times have changed too. At that point, Instagram started, and I thought, right, let me get onto Instagram. Let me start putting my portfolio online. Let me just show my work. You know, I'm going to use this as my little leather binder that I had at home. So I started putting up my work, started tagging, you know, Dubai, all that kind of stuff. And, you know, at that point it was very basic on Instagram. An agency got in touch with me, and they said, can we arrange a meeting with you because we'd like to kind of speak to you about possibly representing you as being one of our talents. And I was like, okay, great. Me and my husband went to the meeting. It turned out to be the biggest publishing house in Dubai. The publications that they run are Harper's Bazaar, Cosmopolitan, all these different publications, Time Out, everything. So I was like, whoa. And I went to the office and I was like, this is huge. Like, I'm pretty new here. And I guess publishing my photos helped, you know. So I was also publishing myself on Instagram, you know, with like makeup, doing different looks and everything. So anyway, we sat down with the lady, and she said to me that, you know, we really want to represent you as an influencer here in Dubai. And I was like, okay. And me and my husband were just like, yeah, and went with it and signed the contract. And we walked out, and I was like, what is an influencer? At that point, I didn't know. I genuinely didn't. It was such a new thing. And my husband was like, we need to figure this stuff out. we need to figure out what this is. And we went away, looked into it, and then it was basically what I was already doing, but I just didn't put a name to it, you know? And then I just carried on from there. And then I ended up on the cover of a magazine, which was crazy. I still remember that shoot. It was so much fun. We filmed it at the Versace. I wore this like amazing gold gown. It was so nice. I had my like hair down. It was really good. Came in quite a few different publications, like been in Harper's Bazaar, Elle. I've been on like some newspaper cover as well. And it was just talking about beauty in general and how I perceived beauty and why I kind of moved here and why I started my business here and things like that. I was on like some huge billboards in City Walk for Dior. I was doing loads of different campaigns for different brands, doing masterclasses for brands, just like a lot of brand collaborations, and it was great. And then Instagram, you know, kind of went from there. I started getting a lot of clients. A lot of my clients who are still my clients to this day are royalty here in the UAE, in Abu Dhabi and Dubai, and they're my regular clients and I love them to bits, and I can genuinely call some of them friends. That's the kind of clientele I have now. So I kind of transitioned, you know, it changes as you go throughout your career. And now, like I said, I have mentioned in a previous video, like my makeup artist side, I've cut down a little bit because I'm focusing so much on YouTube, but I still have my clients and those are my core clients, you know, those are the ones who are my VIP that have always they've stuck with me and I've stuck with them. When we moved out to Dubai, after a little while, my husband joined me and this is our business now. So this is like something we do together. So he obviously is great at the business side of things. You know, I understand the business side too, but I'm definitely not at his level. I prefer to focus more on the creative side, but we still do work together on the business side. And along the way, I started doing celebrity clients too. So a lot of celebrities that used to come from the US to Dubai, I would do their makeup. I've done makeup on Olivia Palermo. I have also worked on Natalie Emmanuel, who you have probably seen in Fast and Furious and Game of Thrones. Just different celebrities that I worked on. It's been amazing. It's been such an amazing experience being able to like meet them. And even Kat Sadler, who was the presenter on E! Entertainment in the US, she's absolutely lovely. I absolutely adore her. I've worked closely with like different brands, Beauty Blender, Dior, Makeup Forever. I'm part of their tribe. So I'm one of the core makeup artists as part of their tribe, along with so many other makeup artists in the UAE. I've been able to go to like different events overseas with these brands. So I've had the most amazing time, which I would love to go in more, which I will do on another video. I also ended up doing the Vogue cover. That was my first Vogue cover. I've done a lot of different covers for different publications, but this has to be my favorite. And it was an amazing cover with my dear client. And I think that has to be the highlight of my career, like one of the highlights, I'd say. And yeah, so from there, obviously, we all got hit with, you know, that thing that we don't want to talk about, that kind of shut down the world for a couple of years. And it hit my business too, you know, it impacted me too. And along the way, by the way, I also did launch a lash brand, which you guys obviously know about. Some of you may know about. Don't know what happened to my voice there. But yeah, I still do have a lash brand, and we are in the top salons in the UAE and they sell really, really well. My next step is to get them into the US because I know you guys are dying to get them. That got hit obviously because, you know, people were not going into stores, no one was going out or anything, and I couldn't go and do anyone's makeup, you know, because we were all stuck at home. So my business did get impacted from it, and I think everyone's business got impacted from it. But at that point, that is when I realized I need to change something. I need to adapt. If we get put in this situation again, I need to be able to survive through it. It did impact our businesses, but at the same time, we still managed to pull through. No business of ours kind of like had to shut down, which we are very, very blessed about and thankful for. We decided then that we're going to start a YouTube channel, and we did a lot of research first. We didn't just jump straight into it. I thought, right, how can I make this different? And I didn't want to try and go crazy and be super different, but at the same time, I wanted to make sure it was authentic and genuine. So I thought, you know what, everything I know, I'm just going to give it out. I'm just going to not hold back. I'm going to give it out, and I'm going to teach the way I used to teach my training academy. That's what I did, and it paid off. So having that training academy and understanding people and learning everything throughout my career, working with my dad, dad, working with customers at the beauty counters, working at a magazine, you know, understanding photography, understanding shoots and working with clients and working with brands and everything. Everything has helped when it came to my YouTube channel, my beauty YouTube channel, because within the first year, it was crazy how much we grew. Within the first year, we grew to something like 300,000, I think we did, or no, 200,000 or something along that line. I can't remember, but between 200 and 300,000 we grew to within the first year. We're now at 370 something thousand, I think. And at that point, I realized that I really want to start a vlog channel because I love vlogs. And here we are, guys. Here we are. And I have also decided I do want to make this educational as well. Not so fully educational. You're still going to get my day in the life of and week in my life and coming to events and just general rants maybe here or there, or just seeing me doing whatever I get up to during the day. But here and there, you're going to see me drop in some educational videos, you know, like highs and lows of being a content creator, how to get started, how to be productive, how to stay focused, you know, all sorts. So I want to add all that, and how to start a YouTube channel maybe. We'll do that a bit later on. That basically is how I got to where I am. And there is so much more that we want to do. We obviously want to expand the Lash brand into the US, and that is something that we're really eager to do because we know that we've got the audience there. That's the crazy thing. You guys are there, you're ready to buy, but we need to bring it out there to you. So we are working on that. And I would like to obviously add other products to my range, but I really want to get it out in the US first before we do that. Who knows where this is going to take us. There's so much more that you can do, and there's so much more out there to do. And I don't feel like I have a glass ceiling here. That is the best feeling. I feel like being here in Dubai, my home, I feel like there is so much more that I can do. We travel all the time. We can work from anywhere more or less because of YouTube. I get to still do the makeup side because that's what I'm really passionate about. It keeps me creative having my clientele there. I've got the Lash brand, so I feel like I've got the product side of things, and I've got the service side of things. And then I've also got YouTube, and I've got my 2 channels now, and I'm really, really happy with this channel too. It's slowly but surely growing, and I'm really excited to see where this channel goes too. Guys, this has finally answered your question. How did you get to where you are? I hope you've enjoyed this vlog today, and I haven't forgot, you wanted to know. I think I mentioned that I'm going to tell you why I don't know how to swim. Because basically when I was at school, we had swimming lessons, and my teacher, the person who used to teach us how to swim, I always felt like she didn't like me. She was like, come on, you get in. It's not that difficult. And I was like really scared. She wanted me to jump in, and I was like, I'm not jumping in. And then she pushed me in. That was it. I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not. And I stopped my lessons, and I was like, said to my mum, I was like, I'm not. I think my mum came in and complained about it. But basically that's why I don't know how to swim. I'm not scared of the water in the sense that I can go into the pool, I can walk into the deep end, as long as I'm not like, you know, I can't swim. So as long as my head's above water, that's why I can't swim, guys. I wish I did know how to swim though. But I think, I don't know, hopefully I'll learn one day. I really do hope you've enjoyed this video. I feel like I've been talking for ages, and it's going to be probably a long video, but I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope it all makes sense. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments box below. Don't forget that I do have my other beauty channels, so do head over there if you want to watch any kind of tutorials and like learn anything to do with makeup. You're going to learn it there for sure. You're going to absolutely love it. I'm going to love you and leave you and see you on the next vlog, and I'm sending you loads of positive good vibes.